Sound familiar? You've got these business ideas maybe kind of buzzing around your head. Maybe you've even jotted some down. But then there's that huge question, how do you actually start? Like, turn the thoughts into something real.
Yeah.
Well, if that sounds like you, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into exactly that, and our guide is Robert Herjavec. Billionaires Really Think.
Right.
20 questions answered.
Exactly. And Robert's heard these questions, countless times, right? Especially after Shark Tank.
Oh, for sure.
So for this deep dive, what we really want to do is pull out the absolute core stuff, the essentials, give you the crucial knowledge so you can actually do something with those business ideas.
Right. Take action.
Whether you're just at the spark stage or maybe you're already running something and want to scale up seriously, these insights should really cut through all the noise out there. And we know starting a business means different things, right? For some, it's that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
For others, it's wading through the messy parts of growth.
Totally.
But what's great about Herjavec's take is, well, it seems to offer something valuable wherever you are on that path. Okay. So let's get into it. And the first thing, wow, it really jumps out. He hammers this point right away. Just sell something.
Yeah, the urgency he puts on it is fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
He just says it straight. Go sell something. Like, forget spending months planning every tiny detail in a bubble.
Right. Don't wait for perfection.
Exact. Don't wait. His examples are great, too. Like the Fubo founder selling T-shirts just out on the street.
That contact.
Immediate. Or Herjavec himself, landing a huge customer really early on in his own tech company.
That feels kind of backward, doesn't it? From how we usually think.
Yeah, a little bit.
Your instinct is usually, okay, got to get everything perfect, line it all up, then maybe you show someone. But his message is like, boom. Validation comes when cash actually changes hands. Even if your product is super basic at that point.
That first version, yeah.
And that really connects to wanting quick, solid knowledge, right? Action gives you instant feedback from the actual market.
And why is that selling part so critical, so urgent? I think it really boils down to this. The market tells you the honest truth.
Brutally honest sometimes.
Yeah. Does anyone actually need this thing you've made? All the spreadsheets and theories in the world can't answer that. But someone opening their wallet?
That answers it.
That tells you something real. That first sale, however small, it's just invaluable data plus momentum.
Right. That first dollar must feel huge.
Yeah.
More telling than, like you said, 1,000 hours planning alone.
Definitely. Okay, so switching gears a bit, because right after pushing you to sell, he kind of hits you with this dose of reality.
Oh, yeah. The tough love part.
Especially if you're thinking entrepreneurship is, easy money, kicking back on a beach somewhere.
Forget that.
He basically says, look, if that's what you want, don't get into business, flat out.
He really doesn't sugarcoat it. He says even businesses that look simple, they're going to suck your time, suck your cash, and be really hard, especially at the start.
And that whole idea of work-life balance, he calls it a big lie in the beginning.
A lie.
He says a new business is like a living, breathing thing, needs constant attention, food, water,
It might be tough to hear, but it's crucial, right? For managing expectations.
Absolutely vital.
It's not trying to kill your dream, but it's saying, okay, understand the price tag, the commitment. So if you're listening and thinking about a new venture, that's a big one. Are you ready for that initial intensity where the business is basically everything?
And if you think bigger picture, it really shows the difference between just having a cool idea and actually building something sustainable.
Good point.
That initial excitement, it can kind of blind you to the sheer effort involved, the sacrifice, especially those first few years. So Herjavec being so direct, it's actually helpful, sets a realistic foundation.
Okay, so you're selling, you know it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But what are you selling? This brings us to his point about value, understanding value from the customer side.
Yes, this is key. He says, value isn't through the eyes of the customer. It's not what you think is cool or amazing.
Right. It's what they see, what they'll pay for.
And what's cool is he brings up that classic sell me this pen thing.
Oh, yeah, the interview question.
Exactly. And the right way isn't to just list the pen's features, right? It's asking questions first. Who are you? What do you need a pen for? What bugs you about your current pen?
It's classic for a reason, I guess. Immediately shifts the focus from the thing itself to the person using it.
Totally. And it's interesting, he contrasts that view with, the famous Steve Jobs idea that customers don't know what they want until you show them.
Right. That's a different philosophy.
Herjavec seems much more focused on creating a fanatical customer experience, building something that people feel they absolutely cannot live without.
Fanatical. That's strong.
It raises that question, doesn't it? Is it better to just get lots of initial sales, or is it better to build that deep loyalty, that connection?
Like indispensability.
Yeah, Herjavec seems to lean towards that deep connection, with early users being a much better sign of long-term health than just, raw sales numbers early on, making something essential to them.
Okay, let's wade into something a bit more debated, maybe. Failure. He talks about failure. And he's pretty firm. He says big failure is bad when he's looking at hiring someone.
Yeah.
You don't want people who've, run a whole business into the ground.
Yeah, that definitely pushes back against the common narrative, doesn't it?
It really does. You always hear failure's the best teacher.
Right. Wear it like a badge of honor. But Herjavec, he seems to prefer seeing little pivots along the way. Constant tweaking. Adapting.
So the implication is maybe a huge failure suggests something more fundamental was wrong, like bad judgment or not being able to adapt.
That seems to be his take. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about catching them, learning, and correcting course in smaller steps.
Avoiding the massive implosion.
Exactly. So for you listening, maybe you're worried about past slip-ups or future ones. This offers a different perspective. It's about being agile, proactive, not necessarily celebrating a big crash and burn.
Yeah, it's more about resilience through adaptation.
Yeah.
Not just surviving a catastrophe.
And thinking bigger picture, it lines up with his focus on just keep moving forward, spot problems early, fix them before they become disasters. It's maybe less romantic, but maybe more practical.
Okay, shifting gears. Something more uplifting. He shares something personal. I would dream bigger.
Yeah, that's powerful.
He feels like his own past limits were, self-imposed. He said, my capacity for imagining this life, I didn't have that capacity.
Wow. It really hits home, that idea that our own thinking can be the biggest barrier, right?
Totally.
And he uses that amazing line, a mind once expanded can never go back to its original size.
Love that quote.
It's basically urging us, break out of those mental boxes. Dare to imagine way bigger possibilities than you currently think are possible.
It's really encouraging, isn't it? So for you listening, it's like a direct challenge. Look at your own ambitions. Are you thinking big enough? Are there, invisible fences you've put up around your own potential or your idea's potential?
What's one small belief you could maybe push against today? Something that might open up a much bigger vision.
It really makes you think about how crucial vision is. Not just the day-to-day grind, but having that big, compelling goal.
Absolutely. That long-term picture fuels everything.
Okay, speaking of goals and success, he tackles that common idea that success equals constant happiness and ease.
Yeah, bursts that bubble pretty quickly.
He just says, nope, the problems just get bigger.
Haha, yeah. Not exactly the dream, is it? But his point is really interesting. He says, if you're not happy today with nothing, you're not going to be happy with lots of money either.
So happiness is more internal. Wealth just kind of amplifies whatever's already there.
That seems to be the idea. It's about your baseline. Money can maybe make things easier or provide more opportunities, but it won't create fundamental happiness if it's not already there somehow.
That's such an important reality check.
Right.
Especially today when we see so much focus on financial success as the ultimate goal.
Right.
So for the listener, it's an invitation to look inward, isn't it? What
Yeah.
actually brings you satisfaction, purpose, regardless of the bank balance right now.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, it suggests maybe chasing business only to find happiness way down the road. That might be a flawed plan.
Yeah, find some contentment now while you're building.
Exactly. Cultivate that sense of okayness in the present while you're working hard towards the future. That seems to be the wisdom.
Okay, now for something super practical, something you could literally start doing, like tomorrow morning, he shares this productivity hack. Sounds simple, but really effective. The power of 3.
Ah, yes, the power of 3. I like this one.
He says, every morning, figure out just 3 critical things, tasks you absolutely must get done that day.
Not 10, not 20, just 3.
Just 3. And here's the kicker. You don't go to sleep until those 3 things are done.
That's the commitment part. It forces intense focus, right? Prioritization within that 24-hour window.
Exactly. It's not this endless, overwhelming list. It's identifying the 3 things that will actually move the needle today.
Yeah.
And then committing to finishing them. No excuses.
It sounds so actionable. So if you're listening and feeling pulled in a million directions, juggling tons of stuff, this seems like a really concrete tool.
Totally. manageable,
Yeah.
get focused back, build momentum consistently. Just 3 key things today.
Seems doable, right? Have you ever tried something like that?
I have, actually, different variations. And what's interesting is how it forces you to decide what's truly important. Like, really evaluate.
Through the clutter.
Yeah, it pushes aside all the less urgent stuff. It makes you focus on real progress. It makes you wonder, is simplicity often the most effective approach in our crazy complex world? Good question.
These simple strategies, easy to grasp, easy to apply consistently, maybe they're the most powerful ones. And the power of 3 definitely feels like that.
Okay, let's shift back to his investor mindset for a sec. He lays out 3 big red flags he watches for. Things that tell him maybe not to invest, but are also good indicators of general business health.
Okay, what are they?
Well, force, as we kind of touched on, entrepreneurs who've had those really big past business failures, the total collapses.
Right, the preference for pivots, not craters.
Second, entrepreneurs who just don't seem mentally together. His words.
Okay. That speaks to resilience, maybe, emotional stability. You need that roller coaster readiness in business.
Yeah, clear-headedness when things get crazy. And the third one, entrepreneurs who don't fundamentally know their core business numbers.
Oh, the numbers. Crucial.
And he means beyond just the big financial reports, right?
Yeah.
He stresses knowing those 2 or 3 key metrics you track daily or weekly, the ones that are really the heartbeat of your business.
Yeah, the vital signs. And that could be different for everyone, right? If you're online, maybe it's daily visitors or conversion rates.
Or customer interactions for a service business.
Right.
Cost per lead, things like that.
Exactly. He mentioned cash burn for himself, which is how fast you're spending your money. But the key is identifying your crucial numbers, the ones that tell you if things are healthy right now.
So the message for the listener is pretty clear. Know your numbers, inside and out, regularly.
Absolutely. You need the big vision, sure, but you also need that grounded understanding of how the engine is actually running day to day. You can't steer the ship effectively otherwise.
Okay, then he talks about motivation. And not just the rah-rah, feel-good kind.
Right, the deeper stuff.
He says real motivation is your ability to act, to keep going, when absolutely nothing's going right.
Wow. That's when it really counts, isn't it? When everything's falling apart.
Exactly.
Ah.
He uses that great quote, something about a great entrepreneur going from failure to failure without any loss of enthusiasm.
Love that. It's about that inner fire, that core belief that just keeps you pushing, even when the world seems determined to knock you down.
So for you listening, it's actually kind of encouraging, right?
Yeah.
Challenges aren't a sign you're doing it wrong. They're part of the deal.
Almost guarantee it.
True motivation isn't about avoiding them. It's about how you respond. That commitment to just keep going.
It really brings up the whole psychological side of entrepreneurship, doesn't it? That mental toughness. It's not just about the idea or the plan. It's about having the grit to weather the storms.
Definitely. Okay, thinking more strategically now about the market. He uses this really vivid picture. He says lots of entrepreneurs are like mice, just chasing whatever cheese is right in front of them.
Haha, yeah, reacting to the latest fad.
Right. But he brings in that Wayne Gretzky wisdom, don't go where the puck is, go where you think the puck is going.
The classic Gretzky quote. So good.
It really drives home how important it is to look ahead, to try and figure out future trends, not just jump on the current bandwagon.
Yeah, anticipate. He specifically calls out AI, right, as a huge area now and for the future. It's about seeing where things are headed and positioning yourself for that, not just for what's hot this minute.
So for you listening, with those ideas you're kicking around, are you mostly looking at what's popular right now? Or are you trying to really think ahead, what are the next big shifts going to be? It's about having that visionary mindset.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it just highlights how fast things change. You have to keep learning, watching, being ready to adapt. That's how you catch those emerging waves.
Okay, he also talks about mentors, getting advice.
Yeah.
And his take is pretty specific.
Yeah, not just any advice.
He says advice is relative, right?
Yeah.
It really depends on your situation right now. So don't just ask for general wisdom. Go find mentors who know about the specific problem you're wrestling with today.
That makes so much sense. Seek out relevant, actionable guidance. General advice, even if it's well-meant, often just isn't specific enough to actually help with your unique challenge.
Right. Find someone who's actually navigated that specific thing before.
Exactly. Their insights will be way more practical. And he mentions YouTube University too, right?
Yeah. Encouraging learning from all sorts of sources that are easily accessible now.
It's about being smart and deliberate in how you learn. Actively hunt down the exact expertise you need, when you need it. It kind of empowers you, the listener, to be really proactive about your own development.
Definitely. Take control of your learning.
Which raises that point about navigating information overload today, doesn't it? There's so much out there. The skill is filtering, finding the signal in the noise, focusing on what directly helps you right now.
Good point. Okay, something else he sees as increasingly important, especially with the internet and AI customization.
Personalization, yes.
He really believes that making a product or an experience feel deeply personal, highly customized, that will always give you a major edge. It'll stand out.
It's compelling, right? Because even though tech lets us mass produce everything, that basic human desire to feel seen, to have something unique, that's still incredibly strong.
So true.
So businesses that can really tap into that, offer tailored solutions, personalized experiences, they're likely going to win long term.
So as you're thinking about your ideas, maybe really consider that angle. How can you make what you offer feel like it was made just for that specific customer?
And if you look at broader trends, consumer expectations are shifting that way, aren't they?
Seems like it.
With endless choices, infinite information, things that feel genuinely personal, relevant, tailored, that's what people increasingly value and seek out.
Okay, let's talk sales again. He calls it the absolute lifeplug of every business. Can't live without it.
No sales, no business. Simple as that.
But for people new to sales, maybe feeling kind of scared or intimidated, his advice is surprising.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive.
He basically says, just be honest about it. Tell people you're nervous, you're new to this. He even tells a story about someone on his team who was initially awful at sales,
Awful.
but became really successful just by being totally genuine and authentic about their lack of experience at the start.
That's fascinating. The power of just being real. He makes that great point. Authenticity is impossible to replicate.
Good line.
By just admitting, hey, I'm kind of new at this, bear with me, you can actually build trust faster. People are often more understanding, even helpful than you expect.
It's really encouraging for anyone who dreads the idea of selling, isn't it? Success isn't about being some slick, perfect closer right out of the gate.
Not at all. It's more about genuine connection, believing in what you offer, being human.
It really makes you think about, well, the human element in business. Even with all the tech and automation, that real authenticity, building trust, that's still a huge differentiator, maybe more important than ever.
Could be. Okay, shifting to money management. Herjavec shares this kind of funny, kind of painful story about himself. Chasing what looked like easy money in the stock market, jumping in without really knowing what he was doing.
Oh boy. Been there, done that, maybe.
Maybe. But the big lesson he learned, the key takeaway, don't chase easy money because there's simply no such thing.
Oof. Timeless advice. So valuable.
He learned the hard way, you know? Shortcuts, get-rich-quick stuff, often leads to losing big. Building a real business takes understanding, effort, creating actual value, not just chasing financial fads.
It feels especially relevant now, right? With all the noise around crypto, quick flips, whatever the next thing is.
Totally. So for you listening, it's a strong reminder.
No.
Focus on the fundamentals. Build something solid. Create real value. Don't get distracted by shiny objects promising easy riches.
And connecting that back, it really underlines needing good financial literacy, right? Making informed decisions with your business's money. It's lifeblood.
Absolutely critical. Okay, what about when things are going well, when your company starts growing? Scale.
The scaling challenge.
He shares this insight. You cannot sanitize scale. You can't make it perfectly clean, predictable, efficient every single day.
Interesting way to put it. Sanitize scale.
He says there's always a certain amount of inherent chaos in scale, no matter what. The trick is to embrace that inevitable chaos, but don't let it, destroy the business.
That's actually kind of comforting in a weird way.
How so?
Well, it sets realistic expectations. Growth isn't this smooth, perfect upward line. It can be messy sometimes. Complexities pop up, things get disorganized.
For sure, unexpected challenges.
So the key isn't eliminating chaos, it's building a structure, leadership, systems that can handle it, manage it without being totally overwhelmed.
Exactly. Resilience in the face of growth.
So if you're listening and going through growing pains right now, feeling kind of swamped, maybe take heart. It's normal. The goal is managing the chaos, not achieving impossible perfection.
Which brings up a big question about leadership skills needed during growth, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep focus, provide direction when everything's getting more complex and unpredictable?
Good point. And speaking of leadership and getting your point across, he tells this really memorable story from Shark Tank about communication.
Oh, yeah.
He basically told an entrepreneur, "It is not my responsibility to listen to you. It's your responsibility to be heard."
Wow. That's direct.
Pow. But it highlights something so fundamental, doesn't it? Even the best idea in the world, if you can't articulate it clearly, persuasively, it's probably going nowhere.
It's a core business skill we sometimes forget about or just assume is there. Clearly explaining your vision, your value, what you need, it's essential for getting buy-in from customers, investors, even your own team.
So for you listening, it's like a direct challenge, right?
Yeah.
How are your communication skills? Can you really get your ideas across clearly, concisely, convincingly?
And thinking bigger picture, it just shows how vital strong relationships and clear understanding are in every single part of a business. Customer chats, team meetings, partner deals, everywhere.
Okay, he also talks about pressure, using a quote from Martina Navratilova, the tennis legend.
Oh, what's the quote?
Pressure is a privilege of success.
I like that. Pressure is a privilege.
Yeah. Basically acknowledging, look, the more successful you get, the more pressure you're going to feel. It comes with the territory.
So how do you handle it? What's his advice?
Well, two main things for making decisions under pressure. First, trust your gut, your intuition.
Okay.
Second, be really careful not to make a decision that could kill the whole business.
Right.
Avoid those catastrophic risks.
Gut check plus don't blow up the company check. Makes sense.
And then one final super practical tip for big, high-stakes decisions.
What is it?
Just sleep on it. Give yourself time. Get clarity, perspective.
Simple but powerful. That pause can make all the difference. Prevent rash decisions. So trust your intuition, watch out for fatal blows, and take a breath before deciding big stuff. Good framework.
Yeah, so when that pressure hits, and remember, it's kind of a sign you're doing something right, trust yourself, be careful, and don't rush the big calls.
It really points to emotional intelligence again, doesn't it? Managing stress, staying calm, making good judgments under fire, essential leadership qualities.
Totally. Okay, final point we pulled out. He reflects on leadership versus management.
Ah, the classic distinction.
He admits he thinks he's a good leader, but maybe not a great manager.
Interesting self-assessment.
And he believes people generally want to be led, not just managed, given tasks.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with that. Inspiration over instruction.
And he brings in this lesson, paraphrasing from the Bible, about Jesus teaching with parables. Not just telling people what to do, but using stories.
The power of storytelling.
Yes. Great leaders, he suggests, use stories to connect, to guide, to engage people.
It really hits on that difference between just directing traffic and actually inspiring people to want to go in a certain direction, doesn't it?
Exactly. Leaders connect on a deeper level, craft narratives that resonate, tap into motivation, paint that inspiring picture of the future.
So for you listening, thinking about how you guide your team, or maybe future team, are you mostly just giving orders? Or are you trying to weave that compelling story, that vision that pulls people along?
It really boils down to the human side again, right? Effective leadership is about relationships, shared purpose, influence, inspiration, not just relying on your job title.
Well said. It's about connection.
Okay, so bringing this deep dive into Robert Herjavec's insights toward a close. We've covered a lot. Starting, growing a business.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough. Demanding.
Definitely.
But also just packed with opportunities. If you're willing to, get out there and sell, really understand your customer, be ready to adapt constantly.
And keep both realistic expectations and big dreams in mind.
Right. It's that balance.
Absolutely. And we really hope this chat gave you some concrete, actionable stuff, maybe a few less intimidating ways to think about the realities of building something real, something lasting.
Yeah, hopefully less overwhelming.
Yeah.
And keeping Robert Herjavec's big push for immediate action and looking towards future trends, keeping that fresh in our minds. Here's a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
What's one small sale? Maybe not even for money, maybe just validating an idea or one little bit of future trend exploration. What's one small thing you could actually do today?
Good challenge. Take one step.
Exactly. We'd honestly love to hear if anything we talked about sparked an aha moment for you, or maybe raised more questions. Feel free to reach out, connect with us, share your thoughts.